First, I must just thank my technical team and the players. I think the plan that we had, because we knew there are areas where they are strong, and we knew how we can deal with those areas better. One, they are strong in that ball played behind the defense. Al-Sharif is always going to cause you problems. But immediately you see a Pacey and an Afsha in the same team, then you know they'll be looking to come into the hole in the red zone in front of your defense and behind your central midfield. And we had to try to have a narrow defense to be able to take care maybe with a +1 in defense and make sure that we deal better with Afsha, because he's the one who was causing more problems. And I think that worked very well. And on the balls that they were trying to play behind the defense, I think Rush, Brian, Lyle and Mudau did very well to break the press when moments were needed that to happen. There was few scary moments, I must be honest. When we give a little bit of time and space to Dieng, first half in particular, where Afsha would come short. In fact, Sharif would pull us deeper and Afsha would come short. Then there will be a very big gap between our midfield and our defense. And at that time, Percy is cheating behind Lyle. One of those balls was the one where Motobi and Brian ended up clearing on the side with Percy. Those moments came probably 3-4 times first half. And they were scary moments because sometimes our back four would be flat and not realizing the space that Afsha is taking in front. But we dealt with that very well. The moment we gave the centre-backs a chance to play and not open the midfield, it then looked better for us because the centre-backs did not know what to do. So the game plan worked very well. I think it's a game that we could have scored more goals on the day. But be that as it may, I was still very unhappy with the header that we gave them at the death. I think Brian slipped there a little bit. Ball washed and not looked in the box what was happening. But it was generally a very good performance from the boys and a very good teamwork, very good togetherness in moments, because in a game like this, when two big teams are playing, there are moments that are very difficult in the game, and you need to stick together and fight as a unit and be one team at that time. And I was very happy with those moments. And I think Motobi had a very brilliant match. I think he was very instrumental in the midfield to cut a lot of their attacks and make sure that he gives us a little bit more in the midfield. AJ also stood his ground. And generally, the whole team performed their duties very well. But I still believe Sundowns can play better than this. We can be a little bit more clinical in the balls that we get in the half spaces and in the balls that we get behind the defense. I think Pavol should have scored with that left foot shot. If he received one more time and gave himself a chance because he's got a good left foot. Hashim was unlucky with El Shanawi's save. Peter also could have done better. So we created a lot of moments. Even first half, Hashim, in the goal that Peter scored in the corner kick, there was the same scenario first half where Hashim decided to volley it first time in the far post. I think if he had received that ball, it could have presented a lot of moments for us. But it was generally a very good performance and we are happy with the balls.
Let's go question to the floor, please. Peter?
So 2 questions. Did you purposely sit back in those final 5 to 10 minutes? And I mean, because you did invite them then to come at you when you were completely in control of the match. Was that a conscious thing? You decided, okay, we're going to do that now. And secondly, were you a little maybe irritated with a bit of the cockiness in those situations where you could have been a bit more clinical, as you've just described now? I mean, it was a couple of straight passes, no-look passes that, if they with a little bit more concentration, boom, we're 2, 3, 4-0 up.
Yeah, no, first, maybe if I can take the second one. I think there were many moments, first half, where I was really irritated by our lack of precision and our maybe focus in moments that were very decisive. One of them, for Pavol to take that shot when he's got Peter free next to him. It's a tap in and the game is over. When you score the second goal in this game, everything comes down and you start playing, and you could even score more than 5 if you do that. But when you don't get the second goal, the game becomes very nervy and anxious and emotional as well. That's why in most instances, if you can check in our breaks from defense to attack, we were very wasteful. And I think we could have done better. Had we taken those opportunities, I think we would have sealed this game earlier. Coming to the second one, of them coming in a little bit more, you will remember we brought Grant into our last line of defense to play with 3 defenders. And when you do that, it's a ripple effect. When you play with 3 defenders, then it means you are minusing one line in your structure. So you will have maybe the 5, the 4 and the 1, or whatever the case might be, but you will not have a scenario where you would have the last line, maybe the middle line, and your 10s and the striker. But we had to take that decision because they were going very direct. And we realized that Mutobi was still very important in taking care of Dieng, and Mokoena was also very important to take care of El Sulaya. And then the option we have, then at the back, they have brought 2 strikers, Al Sharif and Hassan. So we realized at that time it's important for us to have a +1 in the heart of the defense so that we can contain the crosses, because aerially, normally we are dominant against, because Al Sharif is not the tallest. It's Hossam that was going to cause us problems, who nearly scored that header that they got behind Brian, whom I think had nothing else but to focus on him, because that was the only thing left at that time.
Please go ahead.
Coach, beating the defending champions twice in the space of 2 weeks or so, I mean, to get you to at least think you could go the way we mentioned it. I mean, it's still obviously a long way to go, and just an update on the injuries to Kuliso and Andy.
I wish I could say beating the champions, man, but I think what makes it sweeter for me is beating a collaboration. You know, when you remember during the bubble, at FNB you could not use the Chiefs change room. I mean, our countrymen could not use the change room, but this change room was open for Al Ahly now against us, and for me, winning this match was sweeter because I felt Chiefs was being spiteful by allowing that, because we could have easily taken Al Ahly to that change room that has got a ramp on the other side, that long distance. It's our home match, but it's not our home match when they've got a change room of the home team. So that for me was very spiteful, because we had almost the same scenario last season. But we don't talk about these things because we respect and we are patriotic. We've been in this space of the Champions League for many years now. Wydad wanted to train in our facility when they were coming to play Chiefs last year. But we did not allow Wydad to train in our facility, because that would have meant we are forming an alliance with people from outside. So for me, more than beating Al Ahly, I think this is just a good lesson on patriotism, on respecting the fact that when we compete at this stage, we are no longer competing with the Sundowns badge. We are competing with the badge or the flag of the country. And it's very important that in as much as we are not saying we must create enemies, but we must have a little bit more respect of the fact that we are representing the country. Ahly is representing their country. And if the conditions are made to be nicer by our countrymen for the opponents, which we did not do last season, for me, that is where this thing is a little bit nicer. Because when it's a collaboration, you must be proud of it.
Front runner online, I think you've had a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Congratulations, Coach Fidel from Front Runner.
In
hindsight,
well, at this stage, it's very difficult to know what happened with Mudau, how serious it is, because it's a hamstring. We don't know whether it's just he was just feeling it or it's pulled or what. The doctors will be giving us update probably tomorrow or later today. And Andy, I don't think it's something serious. He's got that thing with his meniscus, which the doctors could have pulled it to realign it. But unfortunately, the game was thick and fast, and they were never going to stop the match to allow the doctors to do that. So that's why we decided to take him out. But I don't think it's something that will keep him out for long.
Please go ahead.
Coach, outside of maybe saying going all the way, but beating a lot of home in a way in a season like this, where even if you guys have done well, but still said that you're not at the level that you want to be. Just how do you read this run also in the Champions League as you want to go a gear higher? And what difference would you say having the fans today made?
I think I would like to start with the last one. I think South Africa must really change and look at this thing very closely. We had the Nations Cup in Cameroon. And if we really think as a country, we have rolled out a lot in terms of our vaccination and we have done very well, and we think we are a bigger country than most of these countries in terms of our level of development, then we should be a little bit more confident that we have more people vaccinated in our country. Then because of that reason, we should show confidence even to the outside countries by also opening this thing up. If you've got these people sitting on this side of the stand, what's the difference if you had the same thing happening on the other side and the other side and the other side? Because if there is still a risk, there was a risk today. But there is no risk. When we go to Ahly, they open for more than 5,000 people. But we open for 2,000, no. The playing fields are not the same. And in the Champions League, we need that support. But I also believe even in the league, we need a little bit more in terms of allowing the spectators now, because I don't understand. If you go to Egypt, there are spectators. You go to AFCON, there are spectators. South Africa still does not have spectators. It's like maybe we are trying to make sure that people buy more subscriptions to watch their games at home, instead of making sure that the game is watched in the stadium. Look how nice the atmosphere was today. And we would want to have this atmosphere in all our matches. And other teams also are suffering. Other teams, they don't even have a sponsor. And they rely on gate takings. For how long must they continue without any money coming from the spectators? So I honestly think it's something that the country must look at very closely, because I think at this stage, we are cheating ourselves.
There was a question from you.
The other one was on between how do you think this adds to how you guys have been doing in the Champions League this season, considering it's like here for you guys haven't been playing at the level?
To be honest, I would not want to take the wins against Ahly and get carried away, because the facts of football is that Ahly has played far too many matches, and they are not as fresh as other teams. If we are fair, probably now they are close to match number 60 in this season. And that makes them not to be as sharp as they can. They can still be very dangerous given time, but they played a very tough match on Tuesday against Pyramids, and they won that match. They came to this one, they've lost their right back, Hani. They've lost some players in the process, and they were not at the level which they can be if they are fresh and they've got all their ammunition within the team. So in as much as I want to take the credit of us winning the match, but I do not want us to think this was the strongest team that we could have played in the Champions League this year. If I look at Raja in that other group, I look at Esperance Sagrada from Angola. I'm saying Esperance from Tunisia, Wydad. Zamalek is out of the group stage. They cannot go anywhere. Already that says to you, there are other teams that are stronger out there. So we cannot be carried away and start thinking we are bigger. We must be realistic and say, maybe the good work that the players have given against this team and giving us an opportunity to qualify for the quarterfinals very early, it's positive in a sense that maybe we can give a little bit more effort and attention to the championship and the Nedbank Cup before we go on to the quarterfinals. But it is very good in terms of the morale that we won 2 matches against Ahly. And it is even better to know that we beat them back to back, because that is historic. But I would not want the team to be carried away. There's still far more to fight for. And when I look at that team from Angola, I say we really have to be a little bit more clinical and take our chances better, because people are taking it for granted because they are not watching, but that Esperance Sagrada is a very good team. that Raja is a very good team. So we really have to focus more and work a little bit harder in making sure that we terminate the attacks and the chances that we get.
Please go ahead.
Coach, congratulations on the victory. Just in terms of the approach, when I look at your first two matches in the group and this last two games, is this maybe this kind of approach that's going to take you all the way? We used to Sundowns dominating play, too much interference, maybe getting late in the danger zone. But in these last two matches, I've sensed a kind of a different approach. Is this the approach that could take you all the way?
I will be lying if I say this is the one. But this was the most intelligent approach. Because last year, if you were to check at the stats of the two matches that we played against Ahly last year, we, on average for both matches, I think we had 64% ball possession. And what did ball possession do for us? It exposed us on transition. They scored 2 goals out of nothing. Because they are not a team that can break down a combat block. They are not a team that has got the ability of players like Mshishi, like Neo Maema and all that. So we had to play the game the way it is required. If we gave too much space behind our defense, they are a team that forever looks for that ball behind the defense. And Al Sharif is a Malajila type of a striker. He may be scoring a lot of goals, but he's a striker that is looking for the ball behind the defense to touch and score. Nyasha Mushegwi, those type of strikers. But the moment they have to receive the ball in front of your defense, they do not have the finesse maybe to cause problems. Afsha is one player that must be managed very well. El Shahat did not play today, is also another player that must be managed very well. But when you can see that they are looking for the runners, Mohamed, Tahir, Al Sharif, and Pesri, you know they are looking for the space behind. Even the coach was fighting before the match that we should water the field a little bit so that it could be faster for the ball to get behind the defense, because he wanted to play behind the defense. So for this match, I think the planning was proper.